Good morning, good morning, good morning. And as you can see, it's a frosty morning. First frosty morning we've had. So, how are you? I hope you're well. It's a Friday, so I'm only working Friday morning. And I've got a extraction lower right 7. And then some assorted anterior composites and stuff. Which honestly, I would have thought wouldn't be doing anterior composites really at this stage of my career. You know, they're a sort of a thing of a child of the 70s, anterior composites. I had a good spot yesterday. Woman came in with 2 buckle composites on her centrals. Not brilliant cosmetically, you know. And she's one of these women that she comes in with a problem, so you tell her what you can do with that. Then if she's happy with what you said, she'll tell you another problem. And then you say, oh yes, well we can do that with that. And then out comes a third problem. And then her husband has a check-up, and then she says, oh, before I go, there's just one other thing I want to have a chat with you about, you know. So, which is fair enough. She'd been to another dentist and hadn't liked them. It's a classic case. They went to a dentist for a long time, practice changed hands, they stayed with it for a bit, then they didn't really like it, and then, well, it wasn't as good. So they then decided that they were going to change for one that was a bit closer, which was absolute crap. So then they decided to go on the basis of recommendation, which is how they ended up with me, because their daughter's a GP and comes to see me. And in fact, it turned out that her dad was a GP as well. Nice old boy, you know. Nice old, what you'd expect in a nice old boy GP, you know. Like the sort of bloke you'd be very happy to go and have a chat and say, look, things not going so well. Anyway, she told me that she'd been told that needed a big filling on the top left, and she's got quite a heavily restored mouth. So I'm only telling this till the car warms up. I mean, you know, and even then, I don't even know what I'm going to tell you then. But you know, if you're a dentist, you might find this useful or interesting. As I always say, I make the mistake, so you don't have to. Just see if that's... It's a sign of a well-tuned car that you can't get any hot air out of it for a long time. So anyway, she told me she'd been diagnosed with this big upper left filling. I mean, it was symptomless, so she decided that she didn't want everything done. And that was because this was her third dentist, and that was the one they didn't like at all. And so they didn't really place enough trust in diagnosis in a painless tooth to accept it and have anything done. It wasn't tangible enough in the marketing jargon. So but anyway, she didn't tell me that straight away. She waited until we'd done the x-rays, and then I'd had a look at the x-rays, and I said, well, it looks all fine. And she said, well, what about on the top left hand side? And I said, well, you know, they're not ideal. They are big old silver fillings, and anything could be hiding underneath any one of them. But so it's not really she had quite a big amount of decay on the bottom left. So I said, your priorities are to get the bottom left tooth sorted out. Then I should imagine you'll probably want your front teeth sorted out. And then we can start prodding around on the top left hand side, especially if it's become symptomatic in the meantime. So, you know, there's a bit of when you think about that, you know, these patients who sort of drip feed you problems, they're sort of testing you, aren't they, diagnostically? They're what she's doing is she's saying, my last dentist told me I got a filling up here, and if I come to you and you also tell me that I've got a filling up here, then the chances are that you are right and that he was also right, and that I was wrong to doubt it. But at least the two of you agree that I need a filling up here, and with 2 dentists telling me I need a filling up here, then I will accept that I do need a filling up there. But what she got was one dentist telling her she needed a filling up there, and another dentist telling that there's nothing immediately obvious. Now, I've no doubt if I took out all her fillings, I would find decay underneath every single one of them. that's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? In a 60-year-old or 70-year-old, especially someone who's had a lifetime of decay. And that's the other thing. When you, sorry, I've got to get to work at some stage, so I'm going to have to defrost the windscreen. So you've got a woman who's got like probably at least 2 or 3 root fillings. Every tooth been filled at least 4 or 5 times. Some very big amalgams. Some missing teeth, which weren't replaced, and where the posterior teeth have tilted forwards, losing contact points and causing decay and stuff like that. So what you're doing, that mouth is trying to tell you something. And what it's trying to tell me is that this woman is spent a lifetime not really listening to the dentist or having the best treatment done. She's had some crowns done. She certainly hasn't gone on a sugar-free diet, which is what she needs to. And if I was to tell her, and I will do and have done, that she needs to go on a sugar-free diet, she is going to go ballistic. She's going to go like, she's not going to listen to me any more than she's listened to any of those dentists in the past. Not that they've told her that. But I will tell her that she needs to go on a sugar-free diet if she wants to save her teeth, because she's got so much advanced dentistry there that it's going to accelerate in terms of how fast it deteriorates. Because, you know, if you've got 2 teeth crowned and you get decay in between those 2 crowns, then the next step is extraction for the most part. So she's in for a rude awakening. Now, the other reason I'm telling you about this woman is that her central incisors. And she said to me, oh, my last dentist told me I was brushing my teeth too much. And I've worn grooves in my teeth. So I'm like, well, that's very odd, because we stained her up with blood disclosing solution, and she's not an overbrusher, believe me. I'm not put her in the category of people who overbrush for £600, please. She's an underbrusher. And yet she's got these 2 buccal composites. Well, she told me more than once that she said she didn't like them, that they were unsightly. And that she told me more than once that her dentist told her it was because she overbrushed. Right? Now, I'm like a big old pike. I'm sitting on the bottom of the lake. I'm not really interested in biting any hooks that come trolling past me. But when a patient keeps saying, my dentist told me I brush too much and that's why I've got grooves in my teeth, eventually I'm gonna bite. I'm gonna get caught. So I said to her, I can see the grooves. I said, but I don't think they're from overbrushing. And she's like, really? Because again, you see, no, don't forget, this is a patient who's paranoid about different dentists saying different things. So finally, she's managed to get a screwdriver in between me and her previous dentist in terms of opinion. We hadn't discussed the vitamins of that. And I said, no. I said, they don't look like, hello, I don't really want to be ready for blast off. Let's just get the windows down. Oh, come on. All right. Windows are trolling me as well. Fortunately, they're defrosted enough to be able to see. Anything coming? No. Looks all right. So I said, no. I said, that looks more like erosion. That's more associated with orange juice, lemon juice, blueberry juice, cider vinegar, whatever. And she said, I said, did you used to drink anything acidic? And she said, well, what about hot lemon juice? I'm like, okay, that's good. It's very rare that you diagnose a problem and then the patient immediately volunteers what is overwhelmingly likely to be the cause. So I'm thinking, right, lemon juice will do, but bonus points for heating it up, to make it dissolve the enamel faster. So I said, no, this is lemon juice damage. And because it hits your front teeth first. I said abrasion damage is far more like on your side teeth. If you're right-handed, you get grooves in your premolars on the right, So she's like, oh, this is all good stuff, I'm winning her around at this point. She's like a super tanker, and I'm slowly turning her around. Anyway, when her husband jumped in the chair, turned out that he had got an abrasion groove, and his upper right canine, and quite an obvious and quite a deep one, and well into the dark dentine. And so I was able to show her on him that the where she'd got the groove was in a completely different place. His groove was in the dentine, which has got poor resistance to wear and abrasion, and the enamel on that tooth was still perfect because it's got a high resistance to abrasion. The groove in her tooth was 1/3 of the way down the Jesus Christ. Started driving through the Okefenokee every day. So her groove was 1/3 of the way down her front enamel, and it was in the enamel, which is very resistant to abrasion, but very, very poorly resistant to acid erosion. So when you get grooves in the enamel, always think erosion. I think the problem with this previous dentist is what he's done is he's sort of, because I said to her, did he never mention anything about diet or as an alternative explanation for the grooves? It's no here. And she's like, no, I don't think he ever did. And I think what you've got there, you've got a classic example of a dentist who's got a solution, which is over brushing. And has fitted the problem to the solution. So she's ended up with probably the correct treatment, but the wrong advice. And I think as a result of not really getting the right advice, now let's get the windows down. So I don't want to. Oh, seriously? I'll have to do mine. Yeah. Nothing. Oh. Yeah, so as a result, she's carried on drinking the hot lemon juice, which has carried on dissolving the enamel. And of course, has meant that the cosmetic repair is now looking very uncosmetic. So what she's done is she's gone on my probationary list, which is a list of people who need a ton of work, but for whom I am not initially going to do a ton of work. So we need to see what her attitude is to diet and sugar. We need to see how well she progresses with her brushing. we need to work out whether she needs a root treatment and a filling or a crown on this decayed tooth lower left. And then we need to decide whether she wants like another temporary composite repair, which I will tell her will degrade over the years, like our previous one has. And or whether she wants something a bit more permanent, like a ceramic crown. Well, in which case, then, you know, she's probably going to need 6 ceramic crowns, isn't she? Because she's going to need to have them all done. And that's a slippery slope. That's how you get from a patient who should have very basic treatment into a court case where she's had 6 ceramic crowns and is not happy, not a happy patient, because she's got post-purchase dissonance. She's thinking to herself afterwards, why did I spend best part of £4,000 on 6 ceramic crowns, which I didn't want when I walked into the dentist? And the only way that she can assuage that guilt is to sue the dentist for causing her to end up in a situation where where at every point she's probably consented, but with, you know, having seen the big hole in her bank account, and has decided that that's, if she could wave a magic wand and put the clock back and put the money back in her account, that's probably what she would rather do, even though she will assume some other equally brilliant solution has also been done for nothing. You know. So, now I'm not going to overtake this bloody great lorry on a day when the icing is pretty well assured. It's about -3 outside. So apart from this silly buggery with the x-rays, trying to wait until I've said no, she doesn't have a problem on the top left, before telling me that her previous dentist told her that she got a problem on the top left. She also, her main problem was this decay on the lower left and food packing, and I said to her, like, I'll put a temporary filling in there just to stop the food getting stuck in there, meaning that I was just going to push a bit of cavity in there, you know. And she said to me, oh, I've decided I don't want a temporary filling because I'd rather not have an injection. To which I said to her, like, you know, your assumption that you need an injection for a temporary filling is wrong. All I was going to do is stick a bit of polyfiller in there. But I didn't do the temporary filling for her because she didn't immediately say, oh, well, if that's the case, then yeah, great, that'd be great. She's still in this very defensive, hostile mode of, this bloke's a new dentist, and okay, you know, he's doing well so far. Come on. You know, he's pushing all the right buttons, but do I want to let him give me an injection on the first visit? It's a sort of her expectations are all wrong. She didn't trust me enough to only volunteer something which was dead easy and simple for her to do. I said to her, I certainly wouldn't give anyone an injection on their first visit or checkup stage. So she didn't get a temporary in there, which is a shame, because it would have taken literally 2 seconds, and it would have solved her. It would have given her, you know. But in a way, it was like, it wasn't a battle of wills, but it was a sort of me firing a shot off her bow, saying, look, if you're going to start micromanaging everything, which, as you know, is my pet hate, and start telling me what I can do and what I can't do, then we're not going to do much. You know, we're going to keep things very simple, if that's the way you this is, she's got some major malfunction, hasn't she, that's prevented her from having a healthy mouth. And I think her basic distrust of neophobia and her distrust of the dental profession, which is like me and barbers. I hate getting my hair cut. My barbers don't know I hate getting my hair cut, but my friends do. And she's one of these people that is like, I hate going to the dentist. I hate going to the dentist. And funnily enough, in a way, her visit to me yesterday has actually not helped that at all. Because although I've come up with the right answers to her problems, and she's finally getting some decent treatment, some decent advice, it is just reinforcing her opinion that 90% of the dental profession are a bunch of crooks and don't know what they're talking about. So and I'm not going to change that. That's her opinion, and it's going to stay her opinion. So we keep it simple. We do a vitality test on our lower tooth, root treat it if it's dead, fill it or crown it, try and do the best cosmetic job we can with composite on her upper fronts, and then check her brushing and her diet, and then pack her off for 6 months. See if she can come back with a better attitude. But that was a good catch. And if you do that, if that happens to you in the surgery, you should pat yourself on the back for that. We've got there a pretty obvious erosion problem that's been misdiagnosed as abrasion, and wrapped it up, we wrapped it up in flowery paper with a bow, to the point where she can't really say, oh well, yeah, that's just your opinion, because I was able to say to her, and you should know this anyway as a dentist, that all these abrasion, erosion, attrition, they all have decay, fizzy drink decay. They all have patterns. There's a pattern in the mouth. You can look at a problem and straight away say what it is. Never misdiagnose erosion as abrasion. Should never do that, because it just doesn't look like it. It's just not the same thing. It's a different tooth structure that's dissolved. It's different teeth that are affected. If you get someone in who's got all these tiny little, not quite fillings, not quite decayed fillings in between their front teeth, that's fizzy drinks. It's dead obvious. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you might as well be written there on the teeth. Fizzy drinks. Dentine worn away, abrasion. Enamel missing, erosion. Back teeth flat and look like they've ice cubes melted in the sun, abrasion. Attrition, you moron. Anyway, I was just thinking this morning of a time, on a different subject, of a time when I was invited along to might have been the Office of Fair Trading, when Consumers Association were told that they could make complaints to the Office of Fair Trading, and that those complaints had to be considered. That they couldn't, they weren't, they had to be carried out. And the whole idea of having an Office of Fair Trading is a joke anyway, because it's it's a complete nod to the idea that of collectivism, and that things can be organised better if you've got some idiot in charge directing how things happen. So the Consumers Association, at the behest of the government, in my opinion, decided that they were going to refer dentistry to the Office of Fair Trading. And that was because they were angry with private dentists. Private dentistry was in the middle of taking over NHS in the early stages. And the Consumers Association had the opinion, the attitude, and the model more or less along the lines that patients were being duped, defrauded, taken advantage of. What would happen is they would come in, they would be told they needed something, which they can't themselves check or argue with, and then be told that they needed to have it privately, and then one of two things would happen. Either they will get charged at the end and have a real shock because they've been used to paying £20 for a course of treatment on the NHS, and they then ended up paying £500 for a root treatment or something. Or they would be told what the price was, but didn't really have any practical method of shopping around and comparing prices, because you couldn't, to get another price, you need to go and see another dentist, and assuming he agreed with the treatment plan, it'd cost you another checkup, etc. So there was no competition in the market as far as the Consumers Association. So they decided to improve the competition in the market. And the main outcome of the OFT report was that dentists should publish fee scales. Now, if you go to most dentist websites now, I think you probably will find a fee scale. What relationship that has to the fee that you will be charged for the work that you need doing, in the opinion of the dentist, is entirely coincidental. Because as I've outlined in the previous case, you first of all, you have to get yourself a decent inspection, diagnosis, treatment plan. But their idea was that dentists could all publish fee scales, because we're all like supermarkets, and a 750 gram box of cornflakes, it can be compared, the price of it can be compared. Whereas with dentistry, of course, that's not possible at all. And all the fee scales at the moment, you'll find say things like from 35 quid or up to 65 quid or typically 95 quid, or you'll never compare anything. And then you go along and you don't even know what you need doing. So, the idea that even at this very basic level, you can look at two dentists' fee scales and say, well, he appears to me to be cheaper. This one appears to me to be cheaper. But even that doesn't work, because the cost of your treatment consists of the dentist's time available, and the quality of the materials, and the quality of the lab work. And so it's quite possible that choosing the cheapest one might be the worst decision you ever made. Same as if you were choosing a pacemaker. Jesus Christ. I've got all the way to work, and my windscreen has not defrosted. It's your fault, because I couldn't put the blower on. Fortunately, I've taxied a biplane, so I know how to taxi in zero visibility. Yeah, so you're this stupid bloke who came in and announced this marvelous report that they'd done, and all these changes that they were making to increase competitiveness, and it was all based on this premise that patients were wandering into the private sector by mistake and getting defrauded and getting, like going into a restaurant and ordering a bottle of wine and then being told that the bottle of wine was 300 quid. Whereas in fact, it wasn't that at all. That was not what the situation was. The point was that most patients were being squeezed out of the NHS and going into the private sector, and that there is no, and that choice of dentist has to be done. It has to be done by word of mouth. That was what they should have said. They should have said that every dentist on their website should have a comment section, not a fee guide, price list. Is absolutely useless. So I've got to say to the bloke who came in and gave that speech and and got a round of applause and then ran out because he wouldn't take any questions, and called the General Dental Council the General Dentistry Council because that's what his speech said, and he didn't know the first thing about what he was talking about, and yet we still got all this crap imposed upon us. I've got to say to you, sir, whoever you were, your reforms were totally useless. They did nothing. They didn't do anything. They just caused a lot of people to put fee scales on websites that mean nothing, that did nothing, and we're still in the same situation now where we've got privatised dentistry service, which is where it was always going to go due to market forces, and Office of Fair Trading can Office of off, as far as I'm concerned. Right, okay, so let's see what this morning's got in store for us. Nice to talk to you. Bye.